Good evening, everyone. In our last lecture, we talked about data wrangling, we talked about how data is raw fuel, and how different data professionals make it possible for data to flow from one point to another, and using that knowledge gained from data, they can make statistical forecast, they can make a lot of tools, they can create a lot of options, right? Today, what we are going to talk about is what happens next, because honestly, a clean data, a clean spreadsheet is still a boring spreadsheet because, I mean, it is a spreadsheet, right? Spreadsheets are not supposed to be interesting. So, what we are going to do is we are going to imagine a scenario. Imagine you have a spreadsheet of all your favorite streaming services. It has thousands of rows, movie names, genres, your viewing history, how many times you watched a scene, and so on, all those things. But, so, as I was saying, it has thousands of rows, movie names, genres, your viewing history, and how many times you watched a scene, and so on, everything. A data scientist, the data is perfect and beautiful, right? But what if you start asking question? What genre movies did I watch last year? What genre movies am I liking right now? What kind of movies would I like in the future? There are so many movies coming out, right? What, which ones to suggest, which ones to recommend, all these things. That's what Netflix does, and they does that visually. Imagine everything done on a spreadsheet. All it is telling you is a number. All these analytics would have been impossible to do, and even much harder to communicate to the customers without without the topic of today's discussion, that is data visualization. I'm calling it the art of data visualization because data is an art. Presenting data in forms of visual is an art because it is used to express your opinions, express your feelings, right? Anyone who can do this very nicely in a very professional manner will win the heart of their management, will win the heart of the customers. Now, there are few agendas that I want to discuss today. First of all, data fuels business. I have talked about this in my previous lectures as well. Secondly, just because you have cleaned the data, and I have told previously that cleaning data is around 80% of a data professional's work. But just because you have cleaned the data, it does not mean it's insights. Secondly, data can be very overwhelming. If you start seeing this in a spreadsheet, things can get wrong in very quickly. So data can be very overwhelming, and we're going to talk about what brain sees. Brain sees a pattern, and we're going to do a simple case study where we see how data has helped a fictional coffee shop named Gemini, how data has helped this fictional coffee shop make informed decisions. Now, the problem. Analysts face overwhelming amounts of data daily, making it very difficult to identify critical trends. Without effective visualization, valuable insights remain hidden and unutilized. So sometimes, although there are many statistical models, tools, all those kinds of things, but things get very messy. I mean, all of you have had that experience, right? When you had to read long texts, long articles. I mean, you prefer to watch a reel, you prefer to watch a short over reading a long article. I mean, if the exact same things was told to you on a article in a newspaper versus the same thing is being told to you by a person on a video, you probably would prefer the video. I mean, a lot of people will still prefer the text, but our human mind, the way it's designed, we prefer the easier option. We need to train ourselves to look at the text. We need to train ourselves to understand what's going on. So, as a kid, when I was growing up, so I had this, I used to have this quirk that I would, whenever I didn't want to study, I would tell my parents that, hey, I'm getting a headache, eyes are hurting, I cannot read anymore, all those things. The thing is, our brains are, we need to, so as I was saying, I would, when I was growing up as a kid, sometimes I would make excuses when I wanted to study. And the best excuse would be to tell my parents that my head is hurting, I cannot read anymore. And these are the excuses that did not that came up naturally, because my body actually reacted like that when I saw a lot of text, when I felt like that I had to read a lot of, cover a lot of lessons. It's not like I was making an excuse all the time. Sometimes, not sometimes, my body actually used to react to that, and that's how human body reacts to all sorts of complicated and textual data. And that's I think if I'm not wrong, human mind process visuals 10 times better than they process texts. Okay, so as you can understand from this that visuals are much effective in explaining and analyzing problems. That brings us to our second point, the big why. As I have mentioned that our brains are wired, our brains process visuals better. Our brains are wired to recognize patterns in data than just numbers. The visual processing enables us to understand information more intuitively and make more informed decisions. So we can notice the changes, the subtle dynamics of any data when it's visually represented to us, and that is what we call data visualization. Imagine, just again, let me give you one more example. We use Google Map on a regular basis, right? We have addresses. Imagine instead of having address, you had what we call is longitude and latitude. Instead of my address being something New York, Queens Village, New York, my address would have been longitude and latitude, a bunch of numbers, and that's it. Imagine how boring it would be to find a person's address, how boring and difficult it would be to find a person's location if you wanted to navigate from one place to another, versus everything, all the locations, all the addresses plotted on a map. So all your longitude, all your GPS data, longitude and latitude expressed in a form of map. Now, we might not think about it on a daily basis that, well, a map is a map, right? But it isn't. Every location needs to be pointed out on a map, and someone has done that. Someone has created a visualization of the GPS data, and that is the reason we can see such beautiful maps in Google or Apple or any other tools. The moment we search something, instantly it points to that location. The moment we want to find a direction, it shows a visual way of going from point A to point B, instead of telling, I mean, it does dictate that, but it could have just told you, go straight to the road number, Delany Road, then take a left, then go to Edgerton Boulevard, then take a right, then go to this. That hurts our brain, right? Versus the visual way of seeing things. So that's the reason, that's the big why we want data visualizations. Our works get better, our brains hurt less, and we can get the job done much easily. Okay, so as I was saying, our brains are designed to recognize pattern, compare, look at messy data, and by doing by creating visualization, we enable our brain to act much faster and accurately. Now let's look at example of everyday visualization. At heart, it's data, and from data visualization expert or a data scientist or a data analyst, whoever the person is creating the visualizations, creates the visual so that the audience can understand what's going on. Because in order to understand a few things, maybe we needed let's say statistical models. Maybe a statistician or a data scientist could interpret that, but normal people, they will not be able to interpret that. One good example of data visualization is weather forecasts, and maybe fitness band that allows you to quickly grasp trends and make informed decisions, enhancing our understanding. Instead of your weather forecast just giving you the temperature, the predictability of rain, it also shows a trend. It also has a line chart, a visual. Okay, the temperature is rising like this, it's gonna fall like this, the next few days trend is like this. So the trend is gonna keep on going like this. All these kinds of things, they do come up on a everyday visualization. All right. So two main examples of two examples of data visualization is weather forecast and your fitness band. They are telling a story to you using data visualizations. Now, what is data visualization? So we have talked a lot about data visualization. What is data visualization? In simple terms, data visualization transforms complex numbers into compelling visual story, allowing audience to grasp significant insights quickly and effectively through graphical representation. So that's the book's definition. All right, that's the that's the formal way of saying. The easy version of saying is, you can see this picture on the screen. So if I had to represent all these things just in terms of numbers and whatnot, it would have taken some effort on my part to me as an audience's part to understand. But when I create the visuals, things become much easier. So data visualization is basically visual representation of the complex data that your audience or management, whoever it is that you are presenting to, finds hard to understand. Plain and simple. So whenever I make numbers, data, text easy to understand through visual elements, that is called data visuals. It can be anything. As I given two examples, it can be your fitness band, it can be your weather forecast, to forecasting when your business sales, to forecasting healthcare problems, to forecasting all sorts of things. All these kinds of work, when you visualize this, then that's called data visualization. Now, let's talk about three common tools in the hands of a data scientist or a data visualization expert. So the first tool is a bar chart. The second one is a line chart. The third one is a pie chart. Now, what are these? Imagine you and your friends, you are having a competition to see who can eat how many slices of pizza. Now, what are you going to do if you do that? I mean, I personally don't eat that crust at the end of the pizza slice. So if I was having this competition, or if you are having this competition, you would probably store the crust, stack one on top of each other to see who has more pizza. And once you are done, both of you are done eating, you will probably compare who has the higher stack of what do I call it, crust, instead of you getting it, taking out a spreadsheet, counting them 1, 2, 3, 4. You won't do that. You will just put them together in one group and check. Okay, this group has more crust, this group has less crust. So group A wins. That is the classic example of a bar chart. A bar chart is basically a way to compare different groups, how each group has performed in comparison to another. Now, let's talk about line charts. What are line charts? Line charts are primarily something that's used to show a trend over time. Okay, to make things easier for you to understand, let's think about weather data. When you are looking at the temperature, you don't look at the temperature only. You see a line chart that's showing how the temperature changes throughout the day, how the temperature changes throughout the week or throughout the month. So whenever you are trying to visualize something using that has a time series in it, or that represents a trend, or that changes over time, line chart is the best option. The third tool there are more tools, but these are the three of the most useful tools. The third tool that data visualization experts use, it's called pie chart. Now, pie chart represents what portion of or a total share one person has. To make it easy to understand, let's say, okay, fine, 90% of the people only owns 4 to 5% of the world's wealth. Again, I'm not sure if the number is correct, but it's close. I don't know the exact number. So that way, when I do it in a pie chart, I could easily represent things, what portion of the wealth is held by 4% of the people, what portion of the wealth is held by 96 other percent of the people. So whenever I'm showing a portion of something, subdivisions, that is when visualization experts use a pie chart. Now it's time for the case study that we were talking about. As I was saying, imagine you work for a coffee store, Gemini Coffee, okay, and your CEO has, at the end of the year, your CEO has all the financial and all the accounting data stored. And once he has all the data, what he is doing is, he is seeing everything and he's getting confused because these are all numbers, profit and loss statement, balance sheet, cash flow statements, profit earning ratio, price earning ratio, all kinds of ratios and blah blah blah, so many data and so many information to process. So he comes to you and tells, hey, I have so much information and I don't know what to do with it. So can you tell me which of my stores is doing the best? What drinks should I promote the next month? You see, he has specific questions for you as a business analyst or a data analyst, that tell me which of my stores. He's not telling which store, because profitability can tell which store. He is asking you which of my, so he's asking you for a trend, that which location stores are doing better. The second question is, he wants to promote a new drink, he wants to promote a new flavor maybe, and he wants to know which drink should he do that. Now you have the data. How you start is, okay, so you first go to the sales data and figure out the total sales and create a bar chart. And by looking at the bar chart, you can see our downtown locations are doing excellent and our suburban locations are not doing as good as, I mean, it is still profitable, but it's not as profitable as our downtown locations. So that's one insight that I found out from total sales and displaying that visually. Let's look at the second insight. I have plotted my sales data for the last 1 month on a line chart. Remember, time series? And I saw that this is how my sales goes on. On January, this is where my sales is, and eventually it peaks in the month of July and it drops in December. So here is my second insight that I got from analyzing the sales data. And the final insight is, I have created what each drink, what portion of the revenue each drink makes for our for our coffee shop. And we found out that latte is the highest selling item, highest selling drink amongst all our products. So now that I have all those data, what actionable, remember the word is actionable insight that I can deliver to the CEO. Remember the question that CEO asked, that where should he start, which stores are doing his best, performing the best, and the second question that he asked is that he wants to promote a new drink or flavor, which one should he promote? First of all, looking at this visual, I can tell CEO that, hey, your downtown locations are doing excellent, so please, for your downtown locations, if you want to open a new store, go and open it in a downtown location. That answers my first question. Now I analyze sales trend and I figured out that during winters the sales drop and it's during summer that the sales increase. So May, June, July is when I have an increasing trend of sales, and August, September, October, November is when my sales decline. So, and finally I have latte as my highest selling product. So from these two visuals, what I can tell my CEO that, hey, your latte is the highest selling drink, so create some new flavors of latte and try to sell more lattes. And when you are creating new flavors and doing promotions, make sure you do the promotion somewhere around October, November, not during May, June. Because during the month of April, May, June, your sales automatically picks up. So do not give any promotional offers during that portion of the year. Rather, give your promotional offers at the end of the year or the starting of winter, because that's when your sales decline and people naturally don't come to your shop. So your promotions will be the most effective during that time. Now, as you have understood from this that the CEO came to you with a messy number and he got very useful insights: when to promote his product, what time to promote his product, where to store his locations. He just doesn't rely on a simple hunch. He relies on your data driven decision. So when he opens a store in downtown, he's absolutely sure that this store has to perform well. When he promotes a new flavor of latte, he is absolutely sure that this flavor has to sell well in the market. So that is how you can derive value for your organization through data visualization. Now, this presentation was not just to show how to work data visualization for organization, but to help you understand what data visualization really is. So if you are benefited, if you are helped, or if you have any questions regarding data visualizations, feel free to reach out to me. Here's my email address. Or if you have any generic comments, any suggestions, you feel like, hey, maybe you could improve your video quality like this, you could make changes on this way. So all those things you can let me know through my email address. Feel free to mail me. And also, if you have any questions, if you want to clarify clarifications regarding, if you want any clarifications regarding anything, feel free to contact me. What I would also want you to do is read up on data visualizations and importance of data visualizations on your own. In our course, in the course that I teach, that is data and business analytics using AI, I will teach you how to create all those visuals. I will not be limited within the 3 visuals that I talked about. I will teach you more visuals. We will learn about scatter plots, we will learn about histograms and many other statistical visualization that are very useful for data analytics. And I will show you how to use the tools to create those visualizations. For the course, my primary tool that I use is Python, but I also teach Tableau, Excel, so visualizations through those softwares as well. So you are most welcome to ask any questions. You are most welcome, if you have any interest in learning more about those courses, feel free to reach out to me. Or if you are interested to just talk about data visualizations, if you have any questions, or if you feel like you need you feel like if you have any suggestions, any kind of criticism, you feel like this video was not very useful, you can also let me know that hey, your videos are not very useful and you need to change the content. So I welcome all sorts of suggestions, criticism, and of course support from you guys. Thank you all. We still have a few more lectures remaining. I think 2 more lectures remaining, so I'll see you for the next lecture.